things. We're going to speak on some great things, some greatness, and awesome things that are going to allow us to move in a righteous direction. Hopefully everybody is doing exceptionally well, remaining vibrant, remaining thoughtful of others, doing some great things. Shalom, Sister Ulster, how you doing? And we've got everybody on YouTube, so we appreciate you all for being with us on YouTube this rising. Trying to get Facebook up, and possibly, we'll see how this works, but possibly even get maybe Instagram or something going as well. I guess I'm gonna have to grab another. Yeah, hold on one second. I'm gonna have to make sure I grab something else to make sure that we have Instagram where they can see us. Hold on one second for us, but thank you. Come on, continue to come on in. We're about to get started in a couple minutes. Well, probably less than a couple minutes. Okay, I think we got our other stand. So we'll go ahead and get that set up. Thanks for everybody for coming on in. And before we, oh wow, sorry about that, guys. A little tough time this rising. We're gonna push through though. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it's in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Thank you for being on with us again. And trying to get Facebook up and going for you all. And then we're going to go ahead and get this last piece up. We'll probably do Instagram this rising. And go ahead and get our IG family back on. Been a while since we've had them on. So excited to do that. Let's see. And as always, we give all praises to the Most High. We're thankful and grateful to be with you guys again. We're thankful and grateful we've been catching up. If it's been a while since you've seen some YouTube videos, we have YouTube up. We've loaded quite a few videos yesterday. There's one more I've been waiting on. So much memory involved with it. It's taken a minute to upload. Been uploading it since basically since the live ended yesterday. So once we have that up, we'll be caught up on all those. Thankful and grateful to everybody who was with us for class. Because I was traveling, had an issue with trying to make sure that we sent out individually all the links like we normally do. We had pretty good turnout anyways, though, for those who missed sovereignty class on Zoom yesterday. Just simply get in contact with me. All we did was we basically went over how to fill out our form, right? When we talk about, making sure that we can get on the do not detain list and making sure that we get our stuff updated concerning our passport, our DS-11. That's all we went over yesterday. So if you would like to participate with us as far as that, and if you'd like to figure out how those things are going, just feel free to roll with us and to join up with us. Or I'm sorry, rather to call us, excuse me, and be able to get those things in order. All right, looks like we got IG pretty much up and running. So we're gonna go ahead and get them started. Let's see. All right. So, we give all praise once again to the Most High. We give all praises to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. We give all praise and honor to him for each and every one of our family, our Israelite family, our children, those who may love what we're saying, those that might not like what we're saying, those who are trying to shut us down, whatever the case is. We appreciate you. Okay? So we're thankful for each and every one of you. And today we're gonna talk about this right here. If you signed up for it, you can sign off of it. All right? That's going to be what we're talking about today. We're thankful and grateful. And that's what the conversation will be today. If you signed up for it, then guess what? You can also sign off of it. If you signed up for it, then you can also sign off of it. Pretty simple thought process. However, one that if you get it, a lot of things in your life can change, right? And shalom once again to everybody on all these platforms. Once again, if you signed up for it, you can what? You can sign off of it. This is going to change some people's lives. All right. If you signed up for it, you can what? You can sign off of it. Get that in your spirit. If I signed up for whatever it is that I'm going through, I can sign up off of whatever I'm going through. Hopefully you guys are with me. Hopefully you guys are going to get this. I'm telling you, it's when you get to this kind of mindset, it blesses you, man. When you, anything that you sign, watch this, not only anything you signed up for, but anything anyone else signed you up for. Hallelujah, hallelujah, right? If anything that somebody signed you up for, you have the right within your humanity to sign yourself off of it. That is a blessing. To live by that is an extreme blessing. Shalom to everybody joining us on IG, those who are watching this later on YouTube, those who are watching this live on Facebook, those who will watch this later on, or those who are listening live and will listen to this later on in the podcast, right? We are blessed to have each and every one of you. And we want to remind you that if you signed up for it, you can definitely sign off of it, all right? Because we are about law, and law is something that protects your rights. And we want to remind you that you have the right to sign off of it. This rising, this day that you go through today, you do not have to stay in the same position you've been in. You have every right to be able to sign off of it. If you signed up for it, you have every single right to sign off of it. All right? Catch that. Receive that so you can receive that. Be ready to live that. Thank you for sharing, by the way. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the gifts, all those things. If you signed up for something, right, whatever it is, you have the right to sign off of it. Okay? If you signed up for it, you have the right to sign off of it. If you signed up for debt, Uniform Commercial Code says you have the right to sign off of debt. Matter of fact, the same system that allows you to sign up for debt is the same very system that allows you to sign off debt, right? To discharge debt. We only focus on what we signed up for, and we like to think about only what we signed up for, but you have the right at any time to sign off of it. How many time? At what time? At any time. Right? If you signed up for depression, I'm here to tell you that you have the right to sign off of depression, to sign it off, to authorize it to go. You authorize it to come, you might as well authorize it to go. Right? And you had the right to sign off sign up for a bad relationship. You have the right to sign off of a bad relationship, even if that means not necessarily getting rid of said relationship. Hold on one second, you all. We're having some issues trying to get this stuff moving. This must mean that it's going to be a great message. It's going to be a great message for you, right? I declare it. All right. I wouldn't be having this many issues this rising if this message wasn't going to bless somebody, right? If you signed up for depression, you have the right to sign off of depression. If you signed up for people coming against you, you have the right to sign off of those very same people who are coming against you. Amen. If you authorize it to come, you can authorize it to go. Excellent way to put it, Minister Tamara, right? And we have signed up for a lot of baggage. We have signed up for a lot of things that are holding us down. We have signed up for a lot of things that are stressing us out, but we will not sign off of it, right? Check this out. If you signed off on giving your tithes or giving your tribute to a government that is crooked, you can sign up to giving your tribute to something that's going to bless you. You can sign off on giving it to your community so it can grow its own food. You sign up to go to the grocery store. Why not sign off of the grocery store and decide to sign up to giving something that will bless your community? If you signed off on working for somebody else, to job out for somebody else, to toil for somebody else, then you can also sign off on making sure you start your own business, right? Now, what we've been tricked, I'm saying it this way because the trick is to get you to believe that the only way to survive is to survive the way that they told you, right? When you signed off. I can't start my own business. Well, why can't you put time towards your own business? Question. Genuine question, right? Well, I don't have the money for it. Well, do you have the money to keep on paying somebody else? Do you have the money to keep on putting somebody else, grand rising to you all? Do you have the money to keep giving somebody else to have them do something that has become detrimental unto you? If you signed up for one, why can't you sign up off on another? You hear what I'm saying, right? It's a mindset. It's not what you can and cannot do, right? Like we talked about a little while ago. The goal is not tomorrow, right? That just loaded up on YouTube, by the way, if you want to review that. Right? It's not that you cannot sign off. It's not that you can't sign. See, that's really the deal. You have a belief that you can't sign. You're using your signature. You're using your authority. You're giving somebody authority all the time. But it's not that you can't sign. The whole system that you're in depends on you signing off on it or signing up for it. Right? I sign off the responsibility of being sovereign. How? I deal with your how am I going to say this? I'm dealing with your, and shalom to everybody. Hey, Sister Kate, long time. Well, actually, you've been on with us the last couple of times, right? So I'm signing, right? But I sign all the time. But for some reason, when it comes to signing off on my own things, I don't. I'll sign up for everybody else's stuff, but I won't sign up for mine. I'll sign up for things that are afflicting me, but I won't sign off of those things that afflict me. I'll sign up to make sure that somebody else is doing well, but I won't sign off on what it is that I'm doing for my family. You sign quite a bit, but for whatever reason, you don't really think about you signing it because you don't think, and I love the way Minister Tamara put it in the chat on the podcast, you will sign for all these different things, but for whatever reason, when it comes to yourself, you believe you can't sign anymore. That's the disconnect, right? The disconnect is, I, for whatever reason, cannot sign. And I'm praised the Most High. We praise Ruach HaKodesh because I could not talk about this today if it was not for her. My mind is all over the place, but she brought me to a place this rising of remembering that I have the ability to sign off, even sign off of things that are distracting or sign off of things that are leading me to try and think sinful thoughts or whatever. I can sign off of them to be able to snap right into kingdom mentality. That's what I'm even dealing in right now. If I just be honest with you, that I've decided to stop signing up for things that were kind of distracting me this rising, and I decided to give everything I had and sign off on being here and staying committed. Being committed means that I've decided to continue to sign up for what I've been committed to. I will stay committed to it no matter what. I decided to sign off of not being committed. I've decided to sign up for being committed no matter what. Right? I've decided to sign up to certain authorization and leadership, right, that will allow me to be able to grow. I decided to sign off of authorization and leadership that does not allow me to grow. That's the mindset. It's not the actions that are hurting you as much, because the actions are going to be based off of what's in your mindset. You're not speaking certain things into the atmosphere just because you decided to speak, just because you randomly spoke it. Out of the abundance of the heart doth the mouth speak. Your mouth is speaking what you signed off on in your passions in your heart. Right? I'm not passionate about this. I'm not signed off on things that are going to help me with what I should be passionate about. I am passionate about something. Well, I sign off on those things. That's what we're really dealing with. The question more so is, what is it that you haven't signed off on or signed up for, right? And what is it that you signed off on or signed up for, right? But I'm here to tell you, if you signed up for it, you have the ability to sign off of it, right? Let's go a little deeper if we can. All right. When we talk about presidents, we did a whole thing. We're going to have to bring it back at some point because YouTube took the stuff down from before, right? But when we talk about presidents, a president sets precedent, right? So we talk about how presidents have set precedent. Here's the deal. You had to set a precedent, and you still have to set a precedent that says that the president matters as much as they do. Did you catch that? Why does it matter what the president says? Because of what you say. I'm not sure if Minister Tamara was trying to call in. If you're trying to call in, feel free to go ahead and call in if you wanted to. Okay, it looks like maybe you weren't meaning to call in. All right. Shalom. And thank you for sharing the live, you guys. Hey, Cole, thanks for sharing the live. We appreciate it. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Beverly, by the way. Shalom to everybody. So you're deciding to sign off on something or sign up for something, right? And then getting upset and frustrated. Oh, no, you're fine. I know that the thing is in a weird place from what everybody tells me. It's very easy to be able to say you're calling in even if you're not trying to. But you have to start deciding what is it that you're going to remain. Now watch this. Are you so getting back to George Washington or any president for that matter who sets precedent. The only reason why any president has power is because you sign off on the power. People say all the time, power to the people, right? The people have the power. The question is, why are you giving your power away? If you were a true Republican, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but if you were a true Republican, you know what would happen? A true Republican, because this is what Republicans say they stand for, less government, would say that the president needs to listen to me. Not that I need to support the president, whatever they say. The president needs to listen to me. That's what your stance is supposed to be. Why do you keep signing off on somebody taking your power when you keep saying that you don't want anybody to take your power? The government shouldn't have any power over you. Could it possibly be that you really don't do what you say you stand for? Right? If you're a true Democrat, talking about how government's going to fix this and fix that, well, you would say that, hey, I'm going to make sure that the government does what I say. If I want more government, then the government's supposed to support me. I will make sure that I fight for people's sovereignty so that the government will simply do nothing more than support the people who are sovereign. And instead of people being about the United States, we'll make sure it's about the United States of America, right? But nobody's saying those things. Why is nobody saying those things? Because you're not truly, right? You're not truly about what you say you're about. You signed up to be a slave, and you won't sign off of it. That's the reality, right? Your vote, right? When you're voting for somebody, when you're voting for people to be in the system, and the system hasn't done anything for you since 1789, it hasn't done anything for you since 1776. All it's done is just take one form of leadership and put another form in, but you keep getting the same result. If you keep taking one form of leadership, right? And thank you to everybody who's on IG, YouTube, the podcast, Facebook, right? We thank you. We appreciate you all. Look, if you're simply taking one form of government or one face on the government, and then you keep putting another face on and keep getting the same government, at some point, you're just signing up for. We talked about that yesterday. At some point, you got to start saying to yourself, why am I supporting that which is corrupt? Why am I supporting that which is corrupt? We're excited to talk about others who didn't support that which was corrupt. We're excited to talk about those who died for their people. We're excited to talk about those who marched for their people. We're excited to talk about those who said we're going to give you something else as a people to be able to get into and live within, etc. But here you are, right? Here you are, where you're still supporting the same system, setting a precedence, setting a precedence, a precedent, right? And then getting upset when the president does something. Don't get upset at the president. Don't get upset at Biden. Don't get upset if it's Trump. Don't get upset whomever the president is. You're the one that set the precedent. You're the precedent. You're the one that says, oh yeah, whatever they're doing is fine because I'm going to vote for him again. I'm going to vote for the same system. I'm going to vote for somebody else to come in and be bound by the same laws and restrictions and stuff. They are public servants. They only serve the interests of a master. And instead of you saying, I shall be the master, you say, you know what, we'll let them go ahead and listen to other masters. Or maybe we shouldn't even say masters, even though masters are teachers, so that's who they're submitting to. But how about this? They're submitting to an owner. And you have the right to take ownership because of the owner of the heaven and earth. But instead, what do? You decide to take, to let them have somebody else take ownership, and you slide into position. You sign up for it. We have signed up for all this stuff. We signed up for the United States rather than the United States of America. Literally, we have signed up for it, and are still trying to figure out why are we dealing with this? How come we're dealing with this? Why is this such a frustrating experience? When am I going to be able to come outside of this? How am I going to be able to move? At some point, that what you signed up for, it's time to sign off of it. That's all we're offering people the opportunity to do, is sign off. Sign off of this stuff. You don't have to sign off of that which has kept you bound. You don't have to keep your promise. They even have you in a place where they try to make you feel bad. Well, you promised you would do this, right? Ask not what you can do, or ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Why would I not want my country to do something for me? It sounds good. The question is it really even my country? Right? I'm signing up for something that says that I'm still a slave. If you didn't believe I was a slave, you would get me out of debt. Let's just make it simple. If you didn't believe I was a slave, you would help me to get out of debt. Thank you for the light. Appreciate that, Brother Jermaine. If you didn't believe I was a slave, you would stop putting me in debt. If you really truly thought that I was worth it, right? Hear what I'm saying? If you really truly thought that what I was saying was worth it, if you really truly thought that my humanity was worth it. Uh-oh. Can anybody hear me? Can nobody hear me on the podcast? Somebody said that they just went silent. Can somebody let me know on the podcast if you can hear me? It might be a signal issue. You can hear? Okay. All right. So I don't know. We had somebody say they can't hear. I hope that they're able to get back on with this. If you truly believed and loved me, right, you would get out of debt. Matter of fact, if Yahshua said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Well, what's one of his commandments? One of his commandments says that you should train up a child in the way that they should go, so when they grow old, they won't depart from it. Right after that, part of what he spoke to us is what? That you should make sure that people are not borrowers but are lenders, because the borrower will always be a servant to the lender. And that wouldn't be as much of a problem if we had people who we were borrowing from who were legit and who were powerful and who loved us and who cared about us. It wouldn't be that much of a problem, but we're in a system to where that's a problem because people are not legit. People do not love us. People do not care about us, right? People are not making sure that you get out of debt. If you love me, why would you keep? Now watch this. We got to ask a question too, because you got to have some self-accountability. If you love yourself, why do you keep putting yourself in debt? Shalom, Dashima, how you doing? Right, if you loved yourself, come on, somebody. Why would you keep going in debt? If you loved your family, why would you have it set up to where we're supposed to have this thing set up to where our family could be taken care of for generations, correct? Right? We're supposed to have this thing set up where our families can be taken care of for generations. Well, if we love our families and we want them to be taken care of for generations, then question for you, why aren't we giving them what they need to be taken care of for generations? Where is the inheritance? Not when we die. Where's the inheritance when your child gets older and is getting ready to go into something else? Why are we not setting that up? Why are we not setting up a community where your children can go ahead and have their own place to stay, have their own food, have running water, have electricity, have place to be able to get rid of their waste, have these are things that your children should be privy to. These are things that your children should be guaranteed. These are things that you should be saying, I need them to have no matter what. I want my children to not know what rent is. I want my children to not know what college debt is. But the system is trying to teach us that, oh no, So your children are excited, just like you were, right? Because we're keeping this generation of curse. Our children are excited to stay in debt. Okay. Sorry, it looks like we had a call. Was that Sister Deborah? We can have you come on real quick if you wanted to go ahead and call in, and go ahead and make your comment known if you're wanting to come on, if you meant to come on. But so we went ahead and sent you the invite. But once again, you got to make a decision as far as, is this what I want? Is this what I want for my children, right? And your actions, here's the old saying, right? Your actions do what? They speak louder than your words. Actions speak what? Louder than your words. So here we are saying, I love. Now, please, understand, love is action. I'm not talking about, do you like your children? Don't get offended. I'm not saying, do you like your wife or do you like your husband? Please don't get offended. I'm not saying, do you like that you like the situation you're in. I'm talking about, do you love? Love is an action. A habach, right? The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Are you putting kingdom action towards what it is, right? Because if you signed up for it, you can sign off of it. So question, if you signed up for wickedness, will you sign off of it? Understand, see, I don't want people to feel like we're not being empathetic or respectful to the plight of others. That is far from what we do here, right? I think those of us who are on these platforms right now, because of us having the platform shrunk, at least for a little bit, at this point, I think you guys are aware of what we stand for, what we're doing, how we're going to get to these, these different places of thought, etc. Right? At this point, you guys, understand what we're about and know what we're about, and know what our mindset is concerning Yah's people. So that's not what we're dealing with, right? But I want to make this clear. The person who is on drugs will do whatever it takes to get the drug, right? The person who gets off the drug is going to be willing to do whatever it takes to get off the drug. You hear what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it's not going to be difficult. What I am saying, though, is that they signed up for the drug. They're going to have to sign off of the drug. It's going to start with a mindset. It's going to start with a thought process that says that this drug is not greater than I am. That my habits I'm going to put in place are greater than the habits that keep me on the drug. Right? That's what we're dealing in. That's what we're dealing with, right? Like, at some point, somebody's going to make a decision that says that this drug is not more powerful than I am. Right? And at some point, you have to make a decision that what I'm in debt to is not more powerful than I am. It's not more powerful than what I want. See, watch this. I might want something. I might want something, but I might not need to. I might crave something, but I might not need it. And I might need something that supersedes it. Now, does my need supersede what it is that I want? Does my need supersede that which I crave? Right? Does my need take me past where I'm at? Does my mindset say that I've signed up for it, I will get off of it? Does my mindset say that I have to hunger and thirst after righteousness so I can be what? So I can be filled? Does my mind, see, my need is to be filled, so therefore I will do what? I will hunger and thirst. Right? My need is to inherit the earth. So what is it? My want is, what my desire is, what I will do is what? I will make sure I humble myself. My need is to make sure that I get an understanding. So what will I do? I'll continue to I'll continue to get, right? Because in everything that I get, then I must what? Get an understanding, right? I must stand under the principles. If my need is to make sure that my faith is valuable, then I will make sure that what? That I put some works with it, because faith without works is something that has no heartbeat, right? If I need to be able to stop paying taxes, then what is it that I have to do? I'm going to have to want to go through a process of what? Being sovereign. If I need to be able to make sure that I'm healthy, then I'm going to have a want, right? A desire to do what? I'm going to want to work out and eat correctly and make sure that I'm, eating natural food and getting into certain things, right? The problem is not that you can't sign. The problem is you signed up for certain things and you won't sign off of them. Whatever I signed up for, I can sign off of it. Right? But we're signing up for things and staying in the things that are messing us up. We're signing up for things and then just staying, making sure that we stay inside of the things that we signed up for, rather than valuing whatever it is that we said we want enough to be able to sign off of these things. Right? Once again, the president is just the president. It's not until the people that he's supposed to serve say that you're going to listen to us that the president will do what he's supposed to do. Right? It doesn't matter who you put in the system. The system only has value if you put the value in there. That's the only way. The only reason why you can have a straw man, right, or even some of us be a straw man, the only reason why you can be or have a straw man is because somebody had to what? Sign up for that. Somebody had to say that I believe that because I'm born on some land, that means that land belongs to somebody else, and therefore I have to belong to somebody else. That's a new thing. That didn't exist all the time, right? Go to ancient times and be a Greek person and be born in Kemet. They're not going to say you're Kemetic just because you're born in Kemet, right? That's not how that worked. Now, though, you believe because somebody has signed up for that. So even when you were a child, they held to believe that because you were born in another country, you were born in the United States Corporation, that means that you get to belong to the United States Corporation. Matter of fact, they have a belief that says that they don't even need to check to see if you belong to the country. They think that you belong to the United States of America. This is coming from what? Something you signed up for, or something somebody signed you up for. But you have authority. And if you have authority, you should be able to sign yourself off of it. Right? If you signed yourself up for it, you should have the right to be able to sign yourself off of it. If somebody else signed you up for it, you got in a marriage, somebody else broke your heart, they signed you up for a bad situation where now you're not going to be able to be with this person, and you got responsibilities now that you didn't intend on having by yourself. Are you gonna continue to sign up? They signed you up for some negativity. Are you going to continue to be negative? Right? They signed you up to be able to have everybody say, "Up, here's this unwed mother." You're going to continue to be able to just think of yourself as an unwed mother. Whatever box that means that you have, whatever depression that means that it has, whatever people want to try to tell you about yourself, you're going to just continue to roll with that. They signed you up saying that, "Up, here you are, you're part of a cult." You're going to continue to just say, "Okay, well, a cult is negative." Heck, they're in a cult. A cult just means a culture. I can sign off of that real easy. They signed you up. Okay, here comes another pastor just trying to take your money. I mean, you're going to sign off on that? Or you're going to say, "Hey, I'm going to do my research, and if I sign, and if I sign, even before I sign up to this person, let me look at what he does. Let me see what they're doing. Let me see, if when he says he's shadow banned for stuff, what it's actually shadow banned for. Let me see if he's actually living what he says. Let me see if he's actually willing to pick up the phone and reach out to people," or she, for that matter. It doesn't have to be me. We're talking about anybody. Right? Now I'll sign up for it. Now I'll sign off with the other system. I'm so thankful and grateful. Some of you have told me that you're willing to be with us regularly, and you told people, "Hey, I'm not really into stuff the way it's, business as usual, as far as just having a church service and all these different things." You said, Cole said, "I was raised with the daily mantra to make considered decisions." Yep, consider the cost. Right? So know what you're signing up for. That's a great thing we should even focus on. Do we know what we're signing up for? Do we know what we're signing off of? Study to show yourself approved. Bring it before Elohim that you can do what? You can work. You can what? Be a workman. That means to be a man, spirit, and a work, to be in your work, your calling. To be a spirit that's in their calling. That's when you can what? Be not ashamed. Rightly dividing what? The word of truth. Right? But whatever you signed up for, you can sign off of it. Right? There's no devil in hell. Shalom, Mr. Self-Care, how you doing? There's no devil in hell that can prevent you from signing off of the things that are stopping you, or the things that you assume are stopping you. There's no situation. There's no thing that you signed, right? They can't have UCC 1-308, but you can do your UCC 1-308 even in the spirit. There's nothing that you signed up for that cannot be signed off of, right? You have the power to discharge the debt. The debt, Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 26, that people are in debt. Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 12. We have this on the YouTube channel, right? Part 1 of the Sermon on the Mount series, Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 12. That has us in a position of what? That has us in a position to where, Matthew 5, 3 through 12, where we understand the kingdom of heaven belongs to us. We've got to be in righteousness, which is right legal standing, all those great things, right? We have to make sure that we're humble. We have to make sure we understand that we have to put some action and some emotion behind what it is that we're doing. We have to rejoice and be exceeding glad when they come against our name. That's great. The part 2, Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. Therefore, we are the salt of the earth. We're the light of the world. We're a city set on the hill. We're not going to hide our light. We're not going to be worried about all these other people who are trying to do these bad things about us or make bad things out to be about us, etc. Like, we're doing what we're going to do. We're going to excel. We're going to be amazing. We're going to be powerful. All these great things. Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 through 20. We're going to comprehend that the law was, that Yahshua didn't come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. That we shouldn't change the most minuscule of measurements of the way it's written. That we have to make sure that we are, not saying that we shouldn't be about the law and don't live by the law. Why? Because we're considered the least in the kingdom. But if we get this law thing down, because laws protect rights, we'll be considered to be the greatest in the kingdom. And we should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. And then we get to Matthew chapter part 4 of that series, right? Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 26, where we're literally told, hey, debt and anger is going to put you in slavery. And a lot of people are in debt because you're angry about something. Now, you can have righteous indignation, but you've allowed anger or somebody to say one thing. They can control your emotional value, right? Number one, we always say culture, then beliefs, and then what comes next? Emotion, right? Which leads to your feelings and your mood, right? A lot of people dealing with stuff as far as they don't have the right culture. You don't have a culture of what? Signing off that what you signed up for. So because you're not in a culture that makes you believe that, hey, nobody has the right to control that which is, my my free will. Not even the Most High. Now, the Most High can give consequences, right? Because there are consequences that are universal when it comes to free will. At the end of the day, though, nobody can stop. Now, if the Most High can't stop my free will, then nobody else can stop my free will, right? So, but you're in a culture, so we have a belief system that gets you emotional, right? That says that somebody has to keep a thing over your free will. You can't allow somebody to let you break from anger, to let you break from frustration, to allow you to not feel like you need to forgive. That's a terrible space to be in, where I can't even let go of something. To forgive literally means that before you do it, I give you the right to do it. I understand that you're going to mess up. I understand I'm going to encounter wickedness. I comprehend that my children are going to do some things that violate my trust. I comprehend that I might have a spouse that will do something that violates my trust. Not just cheating. It might be that they lie. It might be that they don't pay something they're supposed to pay. It might be that they didn't show support when I need them to show support for whatever reason. It might be a plethora of things, right? It might be that they're checking off all the negative boxes at the same time. At some point, will I decide that I don't have to sign up for their debt? I don't have to be in debt to anger. I don't have to allow one thing to mess up my whole day. Come on, somebody. I'm just be honest, right? You don't have to say it's you, right? But I'm gonna be honest about it. I've had things that have made me angry, and I literally didn't get anything else done in a day because I was angry. Right? I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation. I would assume such, but if you want to say that that's never been you, that's fine. I know that I have allowed things in my life that have frustrated me. What do we even say? We even have the saying, frustrates you to no end, right? To where you can't even see the end of when this will stop frustrating you. But the second that I finally said, you know what? I got stuff I got to do. I got to figure out a way to snap out of it. Do you know what happened? I was able to snap out of it. Once again, I'm not trying to say it's as simple as, you're like as simple as that. I'm not saying you don't have the right to feel angry. Matter of fact, there's righteous indignation. There are times to where it's okay for you to feel angry about something, but to allow something to keep you in debt all day, to allow something to keep you frustrated all day. Shalom, Keyshawn, how you doing? To allow you to have something that's going to cause you to not come back on track, to not move to the next level, to not grow, to not be able to reach heights that you're supposed to reach down. Yeah, somebody said you shut down for a couple of days. To allow something to stop your life, that's a decision. I'm just here to tell you, like, I'm not saying that it's not a hard decision. I'm just telling you that's a decision. I'm not saying that you become a doormat so that you can get on with your day. I'm saying that's a decision. Hear me on Facebook, hear me on the podcast, hear me on YouTube, hear me on IG. That's a decision that you've made. That's not because of what somebody else did. That's because you've made a decision that I've decided that whatever happened is something that will stop my life. And look, man, I'm the guy who's been out there, who's been homeless on the street and was yelling at the Most High while he was on the street. Real talk. Why am I here, right? But after I finished yelling at him, I'm the guy who went to jail and they were trying to besmirch my name, besmirch my name, and make me look bad and say all manner of evil against me, right? And didn't do anything, right? And had to wait, even though the whole time wasn't in prison, but whether it was with a ankle bracelet, whatever, for 8 months for them to finally say, even though the grand jury at the beginning said nothing about you is right, you're guilty of. They literally told from the beginning, right, went through an 8-month process of having to go to and from court, take urinalysis and stuff, even though there was nothing that I was even charged of that, trying to find anything they could because they had my social security number in the system, trying to make money off of me. Had to go through all that. Had to go through when I was in prison for the time I was in prison. The first 3 days was angry. Don't even remember them. I remember literally seeing the color red. Now I know what it means when they say you see red. I actually know what that means, right? Because I was in there seeing red, saying to myself, what did I do? And it was family members who had turned their back on me and things like that. I'm sitting in there. I can't even contact anybody. What am I supposed to do? Am I going to make it out of this situation? Why am I here? Right? Why am I here? Why am I in this situation? Why am I going through what I'm going through? Right? But it was a decision that clicked into where, you know what? Hey, I'm here. Let me just start walking around and seeing the environment. Then all of a sudden, my cellar, my cellmate, all of a sudden, and this dude, we talking about killer. We talking about, like, they had me in the place where they put the killers. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was with dudes who were 19 years old that were serving 102-year sentences, right? Like, that's where they had me. And I'm telling you some real stuff. I'm not talking about something. I'm talking about, and I'm not saying your situation isn't real. I'm just saying I've been there in the place where it's like, what did I even do to be here, right? But I had to make a decision. And after that, you know what happened? They had somebody who was preaching in there and teaching in there, and he wasn't even schooled. So he was saying some stuff that didn't even make sense, but he was having people come together for Bible study. Well, guess what? That was my John the Baptist moment, right? He was John the Baptist, and I showed up. Guess what I was able to do? I was able to teach him and teach others and help them to help us to have a little environment. And even people that weren't even going to see the light of day. And at that time, I didn't know if I was going to see the light of day. But those who weren't going to see the light of day, to be able to speak something into them that made them feel like they were the light. So even though they couldn't see the light outside, they knew that they were the light, and therefore they would shine that light into people around them. Like, you have to get to a position at some point in your life where you start saying, hey, you know what? Like, I decided to I signed up for depression. I signed up for this bad feeling. I might not have been the person who set this stuff in motion, but I signed up to go ahead and let it control my life. At some point, it shall not control my life. I've signed off of it. Whatever you signed up for, you can sign off of. Hallelujah. Barbara said, I would be mad for days. You had to learn to let that thing go. Yeah. And that's really what, that's a decision. That's a decision. Angelic Discipline says a jealous man gets no work done, matters at home, or even dissatisfaction can cause jealousy for attention. Dissatisfaction occurs in life. For real, wanted to be in the right place and was in the wrong space. Thank you, Big Brother Angelic Discipline. Also says sometimes we are put in situations that are defining moments. That's a great word, right? Yep, and you said sign off of it. Exactly, right? We're put in all these different things. Like, you have to decide. I know, because we haven't been taught this. We've been taught that it's always somebody else's fault. As a matter of fact, look, it might not be your fault for the situation you're in. I'm simply suggesting to you, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, right, that you take time out to say, all right, this happened to me. Will I continue to bottle it up and carry it with me, or will I let it go? And look, I'm not saying that it can't be a motivating factor. The Bible says be angry, but sin not. So if you're going to use it to launch towards the target. To sin literally just means to what? To miss the target. to miss the mark. You're aiming for the bullseye, you pull back, you let go of the arrow slightly misses. That means you sinned. It didn't mean you weren't aiming for the right thing. So you might have been aiming. There's something that you were doing. There's something in your family that's going on. There's something with your finances, your business, whatever it is. You were aiming for the right stuff, right? There's a lot of stuff. I told you guys behind the scenes, I took all this time to be able to try and do all these great things and try to make sure I was doing stuff for the community. I had to stop because it was taking away time. So even though there's some things that maybe, contractually I was doing and stuff like that might be all right as far as finances and stuff, it's not doing what we're called to do. So I have to step out completely on faith right now and say that, hey, we're going to do what the community wants us to do. And if the community so thinks that they're willing to help, what you guys have been willing to help, and you guys put your hands to the plow, and you guys help us with this land, and you guys help us as far as reaching out to people, and you guys are willing to meet up with each other, you guys are willing to start getting into where we're discharging debt and doing certain things and having a different mindset, then we're thankful and grateful to be able to be in that position, right? But that's what we're here to do. I'm sorry, Dashima said, but we have to accountability of ourselves, even when it's not our fault. Exactly, right? That's a great point. Even if it's not your fault for what you're in, it's your fault for how you think about it. Did you catch that? Now, maybe you're ignorant, or maybe you were ignorant at some point, right? I'm sorry, Dennis, what you said, what caused the system to release you? I signed off of it. So what we're talking about today, Brother Dennis, is whatever you sign up for, you can also sign off of it. And even if somebody else signs you up for it, you have the right to sign yourself off of it, right? UCC 1-308, we talk about it all the time. UCC is in Uniform Commercial Code 1-308. Look it up. And you can sign off on any document that you sign off. Even if you haven't signed off on it, this still is something you can use. But you can sign off on any documentation, right? And you can sign it above your signature, put in quotation marks, without prejudice. Underneath your signature, you put UCC 1-308. What does that mean? That means that you are saying that you reserve your rights at any time to break out of any contract. And this is how powerful a contract is. According to the Constitution, a contract is more powerful than the Constitution, right? If you sign off on a contract, the Constitution sometimes will be like, yo, we can't even do nothing about this because you signed off on it. However, even something that powerful still can be signed off of, because if they violate your rights, we forget that laws protect rights. So law is there to protect your right. Okay. I'll try to, once again, Angela, at this point, I know I didn't get to it. I know you said also to check out the stuff on Messenger. So I know I haven't gotten it. I'm trying to catch up on all this stuff that I've been missing for months, but I am aware of it. I'll try to get to it, I promise you. So yeah, these are things that we have to recognize. We have to be recognized, right? Even if it's not my fault, how I think about it is, now at some point, if I was ignorant and I didn't have the tools, I didn't know how to make sure I got myself out of it. I didn't have righteous thinking, or thinking that's within right legal standing, that met up with the proper stuff as far as universal law, natural law, kingdom law, marital law, laws of attraction, law of first mention, etc., right? Okay, fine. Same to you, Cam, just be blessed. Like, if I didn't know any better, that was one thing. If I didn't know any better, right? If I wasn't intimate with something that was greater, that's one thing. Now that I'm intimate with a greater mindset, a greater way of thought, a greater way of putting things together, at some point, I've got to make a decision. At some point, that's where it is now. At some point, I need to make a decision. Whose report will I believe? Right? When you hear these things, we just think these things are, oh, that's a nice saying, this and that. No, whose report will you believe? That's a challenge. That's a challenge. That's a challenge right there. Whose report you going to believe? That's not a oh, that's a nice saying. No. Like, yo, who are you going to believe? You going to believe what you're going through? You going to believe what people are telling you about what you're going through? Or have you decided to keep signing up for feeling like, oh, there's no way I can do it? Are you dedicated? Hear what I'm about to say. Are you dedicated to what people tell you when they say you can't make it? Are you dedicated to that? You hear what I'm saying? Are you dedicated to that? Have you decided to remain dedicated to not being able to make it because people told you can't make it? Are you dedicated to that? Are you dedicated to the proclamation that you cannot make it? Not that all men are created equal. Are you dedicated to when people tell? Are you dedicated? Some of you have parents that told you would never make it. Are you dedicated to that still? Right? Are you dedicated to, like, amen, and discipline? Are you dedicated to what it looks like? Hear me and hear me well. Are you somebody that goes, man, I only got 20 people that follow my business. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Well, if you got 20 people that follow your business or dedicated to your business, 20 people dedicated to your business can pay your monthly bills. Right? But are you dedicated to, well, it's not Bill Gates. Who cares? You're not called to be Bill Gates. Matter of fact, Bill Gates ain't even called to be Bill Gates. If we keep it 100, he don't need to be doing what he's doing. At some point, you got to, like, think to yourself, are you dedicated to staying in the same place? Are you dedicated to doing something greater? I hear you, Minister Nice. You said you dedicated, right? Like, we're dedicated to this thing. No matter what happens, we're going to keep on going in the righteous position that we're supposed to go in. No matter who tries to cut us off of whatever, we're going to keep going in the righteous decision, in the righteous manner that we're supposed to go in. No matter who tells us that we're not valued, we're going to keep making sure that we go in the righteous decision, right? Because my value doesn't come from other people, especially other people who are ordinary. I come out of something that's extraordinary. And I've told this to you guys before. In order to be extraordinary, all you got to do is sign up for one thing that other people won't sign up for, or sign off of something that other people won't sign off of. That's the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary, or what is the extraordinary. I'm extra. I'm more than ordinary. I have more. See, all it takes is one thing that you'll do that somebody else won't do. Right? Somebody wakes up at 7, will you wake up at 6? You're extraordinary. Somebody only just gets ready to go to work and get through their day. You wake up early, you exercise, you make sure that you make sure that you eat healthy, you make sure that you pray, you make sure that you listen to some things that get you on point, you make sure you read. You are extraordinary. It's a decision to do one more thing that somebody else won't do. It's a decision to do one more thing that somebody else won't do. Now imagine if you do 2 things that someone else won't do. Imagine if you'll do 10 things that somebody else won't do. Somebody's willing to go to work and get one stream of income and hope that that one stream of income will keep them afloat. You're working on 7 streams of income. Who do you think is going to be ordinary? Who do you think is going to be extraordinary? It doesn't take that long to be able to figure out who's going to be ordinary and who's going to be extraordinary. Then it said I will support the purchase of land. I'm in. Yeah, just let us know. Hit us up on Messenger or DM us or hit us at the numbers and stuff that we have in the comment section. But that's how quick it is, to be extraordinary. Think about that. When we get to the end of next year, right? It won't even be fully the end, right? But when we get to the last quarter of next year and we're able to say, this is ours, right? We still got to build the homes on it. We still got to make sure the solar energy comes in and all that. But just the fact that you say you have something that is yours, that makes you extraordinary. That means that if where you are, something happens, your job falls through, guess what? One concern you don't have anymore is, I don't know if I have a place to stay. Isn't that extraordinary? Isn't that extraordinary? Isn't that a great place to be? Do one thing that others won't do. Other people are going to say, oh, well, you know what? I got to, I'm going to have to see what we're going to do. Just pray for me and this and that. Look, we praying for you, but while you praying, why don't you just go ahead and come over here? And we got you. That's a different place for your future. You said you're dedicated to your sovereignty, dedicated to be free of the world system. Amen. Yeah, like that's a different mindset. And thank you for all those great comments you guys are giving. We appreciate it, right? That's a different reality, right? That's a different mindset to be in. That's a different thought process to be in. Now, wait a minute. I know that if things go wrong, I'm taken care of. If my family needs something, we're taken care of. That's why you got to build community. And we're so busy saying, government, give us community. The government's not here to give you community. The government's here to make you a slave. I don't know how some people are going to take this and not take this, because we have people from all walks of life and all belief systems on here, right? But let's keep this 100. People always want us to talk about Esau and Jacob, and want us to tell you how evil Esau is, and that Esau's got to be a negative person, or it's got to be a traitor, or it's got to straight up, some people want him to be a straight up white person, this, that, whatever. Check this out. Spiritually, you're already dealing with Esau and Jacob, and you don't even want to talk about it. Right? Let me just give you, there's a whole bunch of spiritual Esau, Jacob stories, because all it is you're dealing with 2 things that come out of the same place, right, that are fighting each other and really should be brothers. right? And you got a whole bunch of situations in your life that are Jacob and Esau, right? Let's keep on. We've been talking about this system. Well, United States of America, right? Let's keep on talking about this system real quick. They both come out the same place. And when you live in both of them, you're dealing with both. And both swear that they're right and righteous. Both of them swear up and down. Israel and Esau both swear that they're doing the righteous thing. They both come from the same source, though. United States of America, came from the same place, living with each other every day, dealing with the same problems and issues, right? At some point, you got to recognize that that if there's two constitutions and one causes you freedom, liberty, and all that stuff you want to talk about, and one causes you, really, let's say it like this, one gives you freedom, one gives you liberty. One gives you freedom, one gives you debt. One gives you freedom, one gives you slavery. At some point, we have to say, all right, something's not really right about this. I got one that's set up, right? Now, even if I'm in Edom and doing what Edom does, doing what the United States does, I have a right to say, you know what? I know I got to deal with the system. I don't want to be of it anymore, right? At some point, the goal should be to cause people to become one in something that's greater. And watch this. Here's another thing. Don't be afraid. This is one of the things that causes people to stumble and to trip. Whatever your goal is in life, comprehend that just because you're the minority in it, it doesn't mean that you cannot defeat the majority. Did somebody catch that? Hopefully that blesses somebody. Just because you're the minority in something does not mean that you cannot defeat the majority. Here, let's say it like this. Just because you have a minority mindset about something does not mean that you cannot defeat the majority mindset. The minority mindset does not mean it is not the righteous mindset. Matter of fact, let's keep on going, right? Our sweet spot. Is it Matthew chapter 7? I believe it's Matthew 7. This is our sweet spot. We've been in for a while now. We've been on the Sermon on the Mount thing. We keep going back to it because that's a sweet spot. That's Yahshua giving the greatest sermon that's ever been. Right? If you believe that it's the Sermon on the Mount, that's when he started talking about kingdom and presenting kingdom. And that was right after he was going through Galilee. And he was presenting kingdom, healing sickness, healing disease, making sure demons were coming out, all those things. He had to present kingdom, right? And then he gives a sermon on the kingdom. He didn't give a sermon on what made you feel good. He gave a sermon on the kingdom, a government, an environment that is greater and that we're supposed to even pray for the Father to bring down to us, not for us to wait till we die to receive it, but for us to be able to experience every day. I need to experience some joy, right? I'm tired of being somebody who's gone through life and every day was worried about, man, I don't know if I'm going to eat. Man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to have a place to sleep. Man, I don't know if it's going to rain on me tonight because I'm outside. I don't know. Like there comes a certain time where it's like, look, I have to be greater than these things. If I'm going to live, if I'm going to survive, if I'm going to make it, I can't keep being in the same situation over and over and over and over again. I'm sorry, this is Tamara said Matthew chapter 13, verse 32, which indeed is all of the least of the seeds. Yep, there you go. But when it's grown, it's the greatest among herbs, talking about the mustard seed, right? The mustard tree, and becometh the tree, so that the birds of the air can come lodge in the branches thereof, right? It's the least, it's the minority of the seeds. However, when it grows, it's something that supersedes all the other trees. Great example. Thank you. Watch this. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. I want to go to Matthew chapter 7, right? Matat Yahav 7. Or Matat Yahav Zion, if you want to speak on our numbers, right? But Matthew chapter 7, and I want to go to, there we go, right? Verse 13. So it is Matthew 7, verse 13, right? Check this out. Check out the mindset. See, this is the mindset. He tells us that the minority mindset is going to supersede, right, the majority mindset, because the majority of people are looking to be doing something while remaining ordinary. While remaining ordinary, right? We're going to start at Matthew 7:13. I forget which part of the Sermon on the Mount series this was, so forgive me for not remembering which one it is, but I just want you to catch this. You ready? All right. It says, enter ye. I want to say this is probably part 13 and part 14 if you're looking for it on the YouTube channel. That's hashtag FindKofi, just like in the description for the video. Hashtag FindKofi. So if you want to look us up there, feel free to look us up there and get more information on what we're talking about to go deeper. Verse 13. All right. Matter of fact, can I go to verse 12? I want to go to verse 12. Let's go to verse 12. So Matthew 7, verse 12, let's start there so we can get context. Therefore, so because of the things we've talked about at this point, seek first the kingdom and all its righteousness. Stop being worried about things. Who can add more stature to who they are by worrying? The kingdom of heaven belongs to you. You're the salt of the earth. Make sure your marriage is on point. Make sure you pray correctly. Make sure that you do give alms correctly. All these things, right, that are brought up. Now we get to Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. It says, therefore, so because of all those things, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even to them. For this is what? The law and the prophets. So the law basically is of none effect if you don't do it to other people. Matthew chapter 6, verse 37. So if you're judging people, you'll be judged by how you judge people, right? That's Luke chapter 6, verse 37 and 38. If you judge people, you're going to be judged the way you judge them. If you condemn people, you're going to be condemned by how you condemn them. If you don't forgive people, you're not going to be forgiven. So whatever you give, it shall be given unto thee. Great measure, or Elohim's measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give unto your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet, so the same measure that you have decided to give out, it shall be what? It shall be given unto thee. Back to Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would ask that ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is what? The law. The law protects rights. This is what the law is. The law don't matter if you don't do it yourself. Right? Don't talk about law or even the lack thereof of law if you don't do what you say you're going to do, but especially those of us that are in law, right? That are trying to be considered the greatest. Matthew chapter 5, verse 19, right? This is the same, and that's the same Sermon on the Mount, by the way, right? So Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, that's the law and the prophets. Whatever I'm doing to somebody else, I got to do it to, whatever I want to be done unto me, I have to do it unto others, right? All right, so whatever I want to be done unto me, I have to do it unto others. Shalom, Kenyatta, how you doing? Verse 13, enter ye in at the straight gate. All right, why? The straight gate. Why should we enter into the straight gate? Right? Not just even the straight path. We're talking about the straight gate. So you can tell if you're on the straight path if the entrance point is straight. Somebody catch that? Right? We're talking about whatever you sign up for, you can sign off of it. But a lot of us are signing up for foolishness. If it looks like foolishness, if it ain't straight, then why am I trying to go through it if it's a crooked gate? Somebody told me the path is straight, but the gate is crooked. You told me that I'm going to walk the straight path, but the way to get in is crooked as I don't know what. That's not how that works. Right? You told me that I'm supposed to get something that's going to become from righteous judgment, but you tell me not to go down the path of law. Well, how do I make sure I get a righteous judgment without having to worry about law? Right? If something's crooked about it, you don't need to go down it. You told me that there's some young men and some young women that need to hear this, that are going to listen to this later on. Somebody's telling you, man, you know what? All you got to do is do this one gig, do this one job, do this one sale with me, rob this bank, do all types of stuff you see in these movies and stuff. Just do this thing one time and you don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. Why would I want to, how am I considering that I'm going to be living in righteousness by doing something crooked? Then you get a crooked result. You get locked up. These people they're not even there for you. Matter of fact, they try to speak against you to try and make sure that they can get less years. Some of us grew up in the street and grew up around people to where, hey, somebody else gonna hold my gun, right? Like somebody give you the book back, yo, man, hold my gun. The police are coming or whatever. If I get caught up, I can go to jail. Well, you're not even thinking to yourself, right? Well, that's crooked thinking. That you thinking you're doing something righteous for your boy, right? Oh yeah, I'm gonna make sure my mans don't go to jail. But what if you get caught with the gun? There's a crooked gate that they're trying to tell you is gonna give you a righteous result, right? We do that all the time. We sign up for crooked stuff, and we can tell it's crooked if we just simply look at what they're telling us. Something doesn't add up, right? So verse 13, enter ye into the street and at the straight gate, for the wide gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way. So enter ye in at the straight gate. Why? For wide is the gate and broad is the way. So a lot of people are looking for the wide gate, right? That they can do whatever they want, but then they want a specific result. I want to do whatever I want, but I want a specific result. This is why people get caught up and messed up on some of this medicine and stuff that they have out here, or some of this over-the-counter stuff, or some of the stuff that you buy when you up in the middle of the night, and somebody says, man, you can take this pill, and you can eat whatever you want, and you're going to be fine. And then you take the pill and it feels like your body's about to fall apart and you're about to have everything come out of you when you're on the bathroom and you don't know what's going on. You're having all types of health problems because that doesn't go together. You can't eat whatever you want and then get a righteous result. Right? So they lied to you to get you to pay for something, to accept what? The wide gate. I can do whatever I want. And here you have results that you getting whatever comes with whatever. Whatever gives you whatever. Specific gives you specific. That's a word right there for somebody, right? Whatever will get you whatever. True. You say, can you purchase a burial plot on the land? That's an interesting concept. We haven't thought about it. I haven't even thought about that. That's something we can discuss. We're going to have a meeting on Zoom. Sorry to those who were Instagram. We're going to have a meeting on Zoom about that. So if you like to, on Saturday. So if you want to be part of that, just let us know. We're going to start giving that Zoom link out, I guess tomorrow, to make sure everybody has it, so that they can join us at around 11, right after we finish the Shabbat Shalom podcast, right? Amen, Minister Nice. Yeah, people are getting wide gate results. If you want to do whatever, be ready to get whatever. That's how that works. You signed up for whatever, be ready to get whatever. If you want to sign off of whatever, then get specific. Okay, so enter ye in the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way. Then, and the broad way leads what? It leadeth to destruction. And many there be which go in thereat. So many people are going where? Hear the word usage. Many people are going where? Looking for whatever. I want to do whatever, right? Well, if you want to do whatever, then be ready to get whatever. You might hit the lottery, so to speak. That's a lottery mindset. Like you might hit the lottery, so to speak, and actually get a result that's pleasant to thee. It doesn't mean that that's going to be the norm. That's the outlier, right? There are going to be millions of people trying to get $500 million, right? Only one person going to get it. You hear what I'm saying? Like millions of people are going to try. One person's going to get it, which means the one person is the outlier. And even the one person that gets it, if he doesn't have a mindset or she doesn't have a mindset to be able to take care of money, they'll end up like most people that win the lottery, where they'll go bankrupt. Because if you don't know how to spend money, right? If you don't know how to invest it, if you don't know how to make sure you can sit on some things, if you don't know how to purchase, make sure that you purchase things that will take care of generations to come, your children's children's children, right? If you're not thinking about these things, and I know biblically it says children's children, I just like to think about my great-grandchildren because my great-grands are taking care of, my grands should be taken care of, right? Nevertheless, if you don't know how to do those things, you end up like a lot of people who play the lottery and lose big and keep losing. And now are in more debt than they ever had before, right? So a lot of people are okay. So it says many are going to go down the whatever result. Hey, I want to do whatever. So be ready to get whatever. And a lot of people get whatever. Right? And be careful. Because if you don't have a plan or a vision for your life, somebody else does. And that's why you're going through whatever. You're not specific with what you need to do. You're not specific with your habits. You're not specific with your prayer life. You're not specific with how you talk to your wife. You're not specific with how you talk to your husband. You're not specific with what you name and claim. You're just naming and claiming whatever. I claim that I'm going to be a millionaire. A millionaire doing what? Because some people become millionaires and they don't like the life that they have to be able to keep those millions. I know that people want you to believe this, but I'm just going to tell you, look, I don't know the brother. I'm just observing. I'm observing, all right? If you want to call this prophetic or whatever, I'm just telling you I'm observing, right? I'm observing. Lil Nas X is not happy. If you know who I'm talking about, Lil Nas X is not happy. He does not look happy at all to me. He looks like he's doing what's necessary to stay on top and so that the people that own him, his handlers, will not take what he has. Or even sometimes it gets worse than that. Some people just don't want their fame taken from them. But he don't look happy to me. You said so many people win the lottery but lost it all spending unwisely. Yeah, he seems unhappy to me. He seems depressed. He might believe that he's happy at times, but I mean, you can tell on his face. Your face tells a lot. Remember, communication, only 7% of communication is verbal. Look at that man's face sometimes, right? I think he's happy to have millions and stuff, and money answereth all things, but don't understand it. Just because money answereth all things, it doesn't mean that it changes all things. It doesn't mean that it makes you feel good about it. It just answers some things. So he doesn't have to worry about food right now. You know, look at Lil Nas X. Some people say, oh, he was just pretending the whole time. Look at Lil Nas X before he went down, whatever it's called. Take my horse down the old town. I don't know what the lyrics are. Forgive me. I'm a ride till I can't no more. All that stuff. Look at what he was before then, and look at what he is now. He's not even the same person. Now, some people say, oh, that's who he was the whole time. I guess. But you know, they have a lot of black men who come into a lot of different places. They got to wear dresses in order to make it to the next level. Russell Westbrook is out there. You think of him as being this strong man and all this other stuff. Whatever, they had him wearing a dress in L.A. to make sure that hey, you coming to L.A., you going to wear this dress, bro. And in all the fashion choices that he had, he was never wearing dresses. I'm gonna leave it alone because some people might get upset and mad and think that we're trying to LGBTQ plus bash. You know, we're not. I'm just trying to tell you, he don't look happy. I've seen some people that would consider themselves whatever in the LGBTQ plus community, and they seem to be actually happy, even if they're having some issues or whatever that we could talk about, you know, later. But they seem to be. I'm talking about. He don't look happy. He doesn't look like he's what he wants. That's not what he wants to be doing. Yeah, truth is truth. Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't look like he's cool. He's in a good place. You know. So, but a lot of people are going to get whatever results because they want to do whatever, right? Let's keep on going. In Matthew chapter 7 now, verse 14, it says, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way. So wait a minute, let's put this together. It says, enter ye into the straight gate. Why? For, or because, right? The wide is the other gate. So the gate you've been going through is wide and it's broad. Like the way is broad. So when you see a wide gate, whatever gate, understand that the results, the path even, is going to be whatever. You can do whatever, but understand it leads to destruction. Destruction, T-I-O-N, on any word means it's a noun, a person, place, a thing, which means that you as a person will be destroyed. The place you arrive in is destroyed already, and the things that you do will ultimately lead to more destruction. And many, not a few, many, there be which go in thereat. So many are going to get to this gate. They're going to find it. They're going to go in. Verse 14 says, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way. Yashra is the way as well, right? And narrow is the way. Check this out. Straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life. Life. Now, even in English, this word life actually has three meanings because I is interchangeable with O and F is interchangeable with V, which means that life means that you will lead to how you live, and live leads to how you love, your actions. Right? Yeah, you can't save everybody. That's true. Now, that's not my goal. That's why we give the opportunity. You can't force anybody. It's about free will. So life leads to how you live. True life will change how you live. Anything that really has true life changes how you live, and it will lead to how you love, your actions. And guess what it says? And only a few there be that find it. So wait a minute. Many people are going to look and find whatever they want because the gate is what? It is wide. I can see a wide gate a lot easier than a narrow gate, right? That means I have to be specific in what I'm looking for. I have to be specific in order to find something that is what? That is narrow. But I can do whatever I want and find something that's wide. Right? It's hard to find something narrow, but it's easy to find something wide. You got to be specific. And it says only a few will find, which means that only a few are looking for something that's specific. Once again, what are you signing up for? Are you signing up for something that was easy to find? Yeah, you said he can't be in a great place doing all those things. Yeah. So watch this. Are you signing up for something that's easy to find? Or are you only signing up for it because it's easy? Come on, somebody. Let's get in it. Let's deal with this thing the way that we should deal with it, right? Let's talk about this. Are you only signed up for things that are easy to find? It's easy to live this lifestyle, so I'll just keep going and doing what I'm doing. It's easy to go ahead, right? Or it's easier to go ahead and make sure that I have somebody make my decisions and tell me to pay them and go into debt. It's just easier to be a slave than it is to be free. So I'll just keep on being a slave. Is that the mindset? I mean, let's just keep it 100. Let's just be real. Are you doing what you're doing just because it's easy? There's an old saying too, man. If it wasn't easy, everybody'd be doing it. Or if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. Are you just falling into it because everybody does it? Because everybody does it because it's easy. Is it easier to have somebody think for you than it is to think for yourself? Now, some people would say, oh, you guys talk about the Bible. What do you know about thinking for yourself? Hey, the Bible says try every spirit by the Spirit. Understand that this was not what I was raised with. This mindset, this thought process. Even if you want to call me a Christian, because I wasn't born a Christian either. I wasn't born and raised a Christian, but Christianity tells you you're not supposed to think. Because for somebody to tell you that you should disobey universal principles and law, but then tell you to follow the law of the government, right? And somebody that doesn't think. Somebody that believes that Yahshua is a king and whatever a king declares is law, but then tells you that he only said that 2 laws are there when he has the synoptic gospels that you guys keep going to say that all these things that he said and told you to do, but he said only 2 things were law or 1 thing is law, depending on what your belief system is. That doesn't make sense. Somebody literally got you has got you not able to think, especially for yourself, because that doesn't vibe with you. Because if you didn't believe that you needed to obey the decrees of the Most High, then you wouldn't listen to what Yahshua said outside of Mark chapter 12, verses 28 through 34. That'd be it. Maybe you would add John chapter 13, verse 34 and 35. That would be it. You wouldn't have anything left. But you don't believe that. Matter of fact, you don't believe it because you like to have people preach to you out of Genesis. But Genesis, according to you, doesn't matter anymore. You said your culture is what's hard to find? I mean, it depends on what the culture is you want to identify with. I wouldn't even say that. I don't think you should just identify with any culture. I think you should make sure that you keep the culture that you come out of. I believe that, I don't know your background. I know what my culture is. I know my culture is Yehuda. I know my culture is Shwe. I know my culture is Tainum. I know my culture. So, and I know that pretty much all of us, no matter what, go back to the same thing. And if you believe that you come out of the kingdom, if you believe that you come out of the universe is literally a single spoken sentence, then who spoke the sentence? And if that's the culture of all, then we should go back to that culture, right? If that is the culture of all, we should go back to that culture. The problem is not the culture that we go to. And thank you to everybody who's on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on the podcast. We appreciate you, right? The culture, once again, the culture is not necessarily the issue, right? Or what culture it is to find. The culture is the problem is where you find it. And Sister Tracy, I don't know if you were calling in on purpose or whatever, but if you'd like to be able to call in and say something briefly, feel free. If not, if it was a mistake, just go ahead and let us know. But if you're on the podcast, of course, you can call in if you're on with us live. Okay, you said no. If you're on Facebook, by the way, and you'd like to be able to try and call in live, I think if you're on Instagram, you can do so as well. You can request it if you have a question, comment, or concern. But once again, anything you sign up for, you can sign off of it. The question is not, the question is not can you sign up or sign off. The question is, will you sign up or will you sign off? That's what we're dealing with. Will you sign up? You said African? Okay, well, I'm African too. Israelites are African. And Shwi is where my African side is. You would say it's in modern day Ghana, but what will you sign off on? What have you been signing off on? What have you been signing up for? Are you still not forgiving somebody? There are people that are in the grave that we haven't forgiven. I was thinking about this the other day. Satan was trying his best to bring up somebody and who's died and who I felt was kind of like a dirty individual. Was trying his best to bring this person up in my life. After years, of even knowing who this person was, and I had to go through a process of saying, I'm gonna sign that off. I'm gonna discharge that debt. You're not gonna have me, that Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 through 26, where people are in debt to anger and stuff. You're not gonna have me where I'm in debt, where I'm a slave to somebody who's dead. Think about that. A slave to somebody who's dead. But a lot of us are in slavery to a lot of people that are already dead, that have already passed away, and that aren't going to bring anything to the table, right? Can't bring anything else to the table. Can't even ask you for forgiveness. You want them to still ask you for forgiveness. They can't even do it. They're dead. They're not even here. They don't have the ability to. It's impossible. You're asking for them to do the impossible. It's impossible for them to beg your forgiveness because they're dead. They can't do it. If anything, they got to ask. If anything, they're hoping the Most High will forgive them. And prayerfully, they forgave you. If you felt like they wouldn't forgive you as well, so you weren't going to give forgiveness, right? Even the Sermon on the Mount, and forgive us of our debts or our trespasses, and we forgive those who have debt or have trespassed against us. What is the debt? The debt is that when you forgive somebody, what you're saying is release me of the debt. Think about the words. Forgive us of our debts. Release me of my debt. What is my debt? As I release someone else of a debt they have towards me, I'm not angry at them anymore. I'm no longer in debt. Matthew 5:21-26 ultimately leads to Matthew chapter 6 verses 9-13, and he focuses it on Matthew chapter 6 verses 14 and 15. He goes back after he finishes the Lord's Prayer, what we call the Lord's Prayer, verse 13, verse 14, 15. He goes back. He says, "Hey, don't forget. Don't focus on this anger thing. Don't let it eat you up. Don't let it cause cancer." Right? Don't let it cause distractions in your life. And I apologize to those who were on Instagram. We're gonna have to sign off real quick off of Instagram, but we're on every day, 8 a.m. Eastern or New York time. Every day, 8 a.m. Eastern and New York time. Join up and listen to us. Feel free to go back, listen to the recording. We'll leave it on IG. Feel free to go to the YouTube channel, #FindKofi, #FindKofi, and be about great things that we're doing. We appreciate you guys so much, and hopefully you'll join us again. We'll be back on 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern and New York time. I'm not sure about Instagram, right? And I'm not so sure about Facebook, but we also have our podcast, the Kofi of 40 podcast. You can check that out on many different platforms. You can also just look up #FindKofi, #FindKofi. You can also go and get the Podbean app if you want to join us live there. That's PODBEAN. Get the Podbean app and tune in. And we're thankful and grateful for you all for being on, all right? We'll see you guys on IG. If you want to switch over to any other platform, feel free. We'll be on for a little bit longer. Thank you again for being on. We appreciate it. Shalom to everybody on IG. So, we want to continue to think about these things. We want to make sure that we're aware of how these things, resonate in our spirit. We want to make sure that we are being obedient to this process, that we're being obedient to this walk, that we're being obedient to what the Most High has for us, that we're being thankful and grateful for all of these things that He's doing. And a lot of times we're not in that obedience. We've signed up to be disobedient. We're okay with being disobedient all day, every day. But when it comes to, I'm gonna be obedient, I'm gonna stay on track, I'm not gonna let anybody stop me from what I'm supposed to do. I have people in my life that are depending on me, and I'm gonna use them as the focus rather than other things that I shouldn't necessarily be focused on and all that. Like we won't have that conversation about remaining focused. I don't know what's going on right now. Hold on one second, y'all. But, being obedient. A lot of people don't want to talk about obedience. We don't want to be specific when it comes to obedience. For whatever reason. We're okay with dealing with disobedience, but we don't want to be obedient for whatever reason. Right? And getting disobedient results is what's happening to it. Don't know why it is. I don't know why I'm going on this. You said that 64 is no longer about you. Foundation building. I hear you, And really the whole thing is it was never about us. That's a wise place to get. And you probably got to that wisdom because you are 64. Reality, though, is it was never about us. It never should have been about us. But somebody had to teach us it's about us. And so we believed them. We believed somebody when they told us that it was about us. It was never about us. It was never supposed to be about us. We were never supposed to think it was about us. We were never supposed to teach anybody it was about us. For whatever reason, we grabbed onto a teaching and held on to it, right? And said, oh, okay, I guess this thing is about me. It was never about you. It was never about something to empower you only. When you were empowered to be able to bless somebody else. I'm sorry. Alster said, how do you know when you've truly forgiven somebody? Well, once again, the process of forgiveness, the thought process about forgiveness is not what we usually think it to be. The process of forgiveness, the thought process of forgiveness, and when it's fine before we defined it and then got to a place of redefining it and got to now this definition that we live in inside of forgiveness. Forgive is forgive, right? So for means towards or giving, or for means before. So you could literally just say, Before somebody does something wrong, I give them the right to do it. Forgiveness is not retroactive. And that's the problem. We think that forgiveness means that, okay, we're cool, we're best friends again, we're not going to argue anymore, et cetera, et cetera. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is not retroactive. Here's how I know forgiveness is not retroactive. Yahweh decided to send his son so that you could be forgiven before the foundations of the earth. That means when he created you, he knew that you had the ability to sin. We're thankful that, amen, we're thankful and grateful for that, Cole, right? So he said he knew you had the ability to sin, to mess up. He knew that you had the ability to sin, to mess up. He knew it. He foreknew it before you were intimate with it. He knew it, right? So since he knew it, he decided to already send his son so that you could be what? Forgiven. Before you do something wrong, he already gave you the right to do it. He knew that you might slip up and mess around and do something crazy that would cause, generations to be messed up. So before you did it, he gave you the right to do it. It didn't mean that he wasn't going to give you law. Didn't mean that you weren't going to have to shape up on some things. It didn't mean that you weren't going to have to go get to salvation, which means you have to go through a salvaging process to get back to what you were before the sin took place. And that's that's where we mess up with the thought process. Is we keep thinking, okay, somebody messes up, now I got to forgive you. So we think somebody messed up, so now this is what I want you to do. And everybody, just like there's love languages, there's forgiveness languages too. Because some people believe, right, because we're retroactive with it. So some people go, okay, you did something wrong, so you need to say I'm sorry. Some people are cool with that. Some people you say I'm sorry to, they say, okay, you sorry? Yeah, you are. And what? Right? Because their love language is like, or their forgiveness language is like, you got to do something now. You got to, do something retroactively to make it up to me. Right? Some people have a forgiveness language of, all right, like you did something wrong. Like, okay, what are you going to do to make me feel better? Right? Or have you, some people go, okay, I need to see you feel sorry. So if you don't emote the same way that somebody else emotes, if you don't start breaking down and crying, if you don't stand outside their window with the radio, right, and playing their favorite song or whatever, if you don't do something like that, they're like, oh, you aren't really sorry, right? But that's retroactive, so that's not forgiveness. If you don't forgive, right, what he's saying is forgive the debt. So before somebody goes into debt, you have to have a mindset that says, I give you the right to come out of debt. Right? Before somebody does something, sin puts you in debt. You're in debt to death. Right? So I have to have a mindset that I want you to die. This is why forgiveness doesn't mean that we got to be best friends again. Right? You guys have probably heard this or seen a meme that says something like this, that I'm not saying that I don't want to see you eat. I'm just saying you don't have to eat at my table, right? You guys have probably seen or heard something like that. That's been something that's been popularized for a while now. But that's true. Like forgiveness doesn't mean, okay, you don't have to ever do right again, or I don't want you to ever eat again. I don't ever want you to be well again. I don't ever want you to think well of yourself again, right? That's not what forgiveness is. It's not retroactive. Forgiveness is saying, okay, before you did it, I knew you could mess up. So my mindset is not, I'm torn up because you messed something up. I knew that you full well that at any time you could mess things up. I knew that. So I'm not mad at you because you messed things up, right? Forgiveness is, okay, you did something. All right, I'm not going to have a mindset that puts me in debt, right? I'm not going to go into debt. So, all right, you did something, you did it wrong. Now I got to go tap into forgiveness. That's a better way to say it. I got to tap into forgiveness, right? Think about the fact that forgiveness is there. Yahweh doesn't say, if you do this, then I'll forgive you, right? Technically what he's saying is that, hey, forgiveness is there. Just reach into forgiveness, right? Forgiveness has already been extended. Yahshua HaMashiach died. You said you like that saying? I'm in, right? He already died. Tap into the forgiveness. The blood already covers. Get yourself back in position where the blood can be there to cover you, right? That you can come out as bright or as clear or as white as snow, right? Like tap into the forgiveness. Snow cleanses, right? So you can be cleansed through the blood, right? The sacrifice. Tap into it. The blood has already been shed. The blood already covers. Everything is already in position. It's not about, you know, like people have this thing that says, okay, I forgave you, so that means now we're going to get along again. You cannot get along with somebody and still love them. I tell people all the time, you don't have to like me, but you better love me. If you say you're my brother or my sister, yeah, you don't have to like me, but you better love me, right? I don't have to like you, but I better love you. I don't have to like my enemy. I better love him though. That doesn't mean that I have to love my enemy to a place to where I love him like I love my family. Get out of here with that. There's levels to this. It's not black or white. There's gray. There is some gray, right? Because there's situations that come, and the law covers all the extenuating circumstances, right? But I have to tap into the forgiveness. There's people that say all types of stuff about me. I couldn't do live sessions if I couldn't take the fact that somebody gonna say something wild. So when I go into a live session, I've already tapped into forgiveness. I already have a mindset that people are gonna say stuff that's wild. So I forgive them. Doesn't mean that you won't get blocked, right? But I forgive you, sure. I need to forgive you because I can't go into debt. I can't be a slave to anger, and I can't be sitting around here all day long. I can't not come on a live again because somebody said something that messed with me. I can't be a slave to anger. I'm not going to allow myself to be a slave to anger. I'm not going to have my children frustrated because dad's frustrated because dad can't get over something that somebody else said. I'm not going to have my wife having to deal with me yelling at her because I want to yell at somebody else that I don't even know. Like, what kind of stuff is that? I had to tap into forgiveness before I can even move. He said, that's what you tell your children? Amen. Yeah, you can't allow what somebody else did to control your life. Now, it doesn't mean that if you've done me dirty and you try to attack me, on top of it, that I won't defend myself. That's not what forgiveness is. See? Holistic, right? That doesn't mean I forgive you for what you said. You said something about my wife. Okay, I forgive you. Sure. Okay, cool. Well, you know what? Like, I can't wait for us to get back together, this and that. Well, no. Like, we ain't just meeting up for dinner tomorrow. Well, you said you forget. Yeah, I forgave you before you even did it. I understood that you could make a mistake, but the fact that you did what you did in the manner that you did, we need to figure out why you did that. And we need to have certain things in place. And we need to set certain boundaries that let you know that you will never disrespect her like that again. I mean, that's real talk. People don't want to talk about it like that or talk like that, but that's real talk. I forgive you. Sure. I forgive you. Like, I forgave you when you did it. Matter of fact, if you pay attention to people or whatever, sometimes you got to start having your boundaries ready beforehand because you can see that people are doing some stuff already that's leading towards them doing something straight disrespectful. So, okay, like, I see it coming. I'm not stupid. I'm going to make sure that I pay attention. And now that you're doing what you're doing, hey, I was ready to forgive you already. I'm tapping into that, which I was prepared to do. Now that you've done it, hey, you need forgiveness? No problem. I got you. I forgive you all day. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, now understand that we got to talk about your actions, though, because you did some things that are not lawful. You did some things that maybe affected my family. You did some things that maybe my children saw that could cause trauma, whatever the case might be. And we going to have to have some serious convo. Forget even just to be friends again, to be in the vicinity of one another again. People don't like that. People go, well, Yashfred just forgives and he just says, come back and just do whatever. Not necessarily. See, you're somebody, I can do whatever it is. This is why people don't want to talk about law. I can do whatever it is that I want and he'll just forgive. Well, there is an unforgivable sin. What does it mean to blaspheme? Right? If you don't even know what it is to blaspheme, you don't even understand what the unforgivable sin is. The unforgivable sin is saying that basically you're trying to put yourself in the position of the Most High. You're trying to sign up for being the Most High, and you're trying to watch this forgive according to what you want to forgive. You think you are authorized on how forgiveness works. And since you think forgiveness is retroactive, right? Or even if you think it's eternal, you think it's eternal that you can do whatever you want. But there is a such thing that he can't come back from certain things, and you can't come back from certain things. That's why there is a such thing as hell. For every action is a reaction. I'm in. Right? Hell wouldn't exist if there was no such, or well, what we call hell, that's not the actual word, but what we call hell, we have all these other languages that we speak now. But what we call hell, or what people want to call Hades, because Hades is dealing with that Greco-Roman thing or whatever, all these different things we want to call Sheol, there would be no such thing as it if there wasn't something you couldn't come back from. And even in Sheol, even in hell, it says that even when you get there, you still have the right, according to Revelation chapter 20, you don't have to experience the second death. Yahshua, because he's eternal, when he went down to hell to be able to get the keys, he still is there in eternity, which means that he's down there still next to you, next to people, rather. I don't want to say next to you, forgive me. But he's still there with people, trying to talk to them about his ways and his will, and saying you don't have to stay here. And there's still going to be people as they're burning up and everything, and as they're going through all this pain and anguish and frustration and can't even warn their family about stuff, and being aware that there are people that need to change their lives and stuff, they're still going to say, nope, I'm good. He won't let them burn eternally, by the way. It says that hell will be thrown into the lake of fire as well. But he says, like, he's down there still trying to help people out, still down there, just like he's still technically in eternity, he's still on the cross right now, because he's the eternal being. He's in yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And still, while he's in all these places doing all these things, people are still, because they'd rather go and do whatever and get whatever results rather than be held accountable for eternity, so that they can enjoy eternity and enjoy something that's fruitful, that allows them to multiply, replenish, and subdue. They're like, no, I'd rather just not be accountable to somebody so much. That's where some people are at. They signed up for it. Like I said, I don't want to come up with somebody that doesn't sound empathetic, but that's real talk. Some people have signed up for this. Some people have signed up for hellish experiences in their life. Going through hell, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep signing up for it. Going through alcoholism, losing everybody, doesn't matter. This bottle is more important than my family. And the bottle, if you check out the bottle, or whatever it is, the drug, the bottle, etc., usually you will find out that it's what? It's medication. They have a symptom that they don't want to deal with. And rather than deal with what's causing the symptom, they decided that, hey, you know what? Just like Tylenol takes care of the symptom, even though it doesn't heal the disease or the sickness, I have this disease, which is a symptom of my sickness. I don't want to deal with the sickness. I want to deal with the disease, the uncomfort that comes from the sickness that I'm dealing with. Well, you know what? The bottle is a pretty good way to be able to deal with it. All of a sudden, hey, man, you know what? I'm a coward in a lot of different places. I feel like I've let my family down. But all of a sudden, I feel strong. And I can tell some truths when I get this bottle in my hand. Real talk. You said, what does the Bible say about getting to know one another? You're talking about just what? Like, Brother Dennis, you talking about what? Just like learning about somebody? Hanging out with people? I'm not sure exactly. If you can help me out with a little specific. I mean, it's pretty broad. I mean, the Bible talks a lot about getting to know one another. How can two walk together unless they start in the same place? Some people know it is how can two people walk together except they agree. But it's really how can two people walk together except they start in the same place? It talks about that a friend, being greater than a brother, right? It talks about not knowing people by the fruit that they should bear. There's a lot of principles and things that are all over. Really, the Bible is about intimacy because it's supposed to bring us more intimate, make us more intimate and bring us closer with the Most High himself, which is the ultimate relationship that should be our goal. But I don't have to see, exactly what it is that you're speaking of specifically to be able, I guess, to answer that question correctly. But getting to know one another, if you're talking about dating, the Bible doesn't really do dating. It talks about knowing what a husband and a wife is before you even go down that path, so that you will look for a husband and look for a wife, somebody who's already qualified as such. And therefore, when you get married, sex is marriage and marriage is sex. When you get married to them, you'll already be one. Different cultures. The Bible says, Bible's not necessarily bad about, different cultures and what we think about it. It's saying there's a culture that should supersede all other cultures. There's a culture of love. There's a culture of peace. There's a culture of acceptance. There's a culture of a lot of different things. Matter of fact, when you think about it, even in Israel, all 12 tribes did not live exactly the same way, right? Like, or really, if you want to get into 14, the extra 2 with Ephraim and Manasseh, but all 12 tribes didn't live exactly the same way. They all had their own culture. Benjamites were more about war than anybody else. Judah was more about praise than everybody else. Reuben was supposed to accept the example, in certain ways. Levi was about priestly matters. They all had different cultures, so to speak, but there was a culture that bound them together. Also, too, anything that came out, but when you talk about outside of the culture, if anything was going to take you away from worship of Elohim, then that was a problem. So, Kemet, for example, when Kemetic people came out, and even Israel is part Kemetic anyways, but when Kemet came out with them, and even, Cush came out with them or whatever into the wilderness, Kemet, the Kemetic part of things, people said, oh yeah, let's keep this Kemetic thing. And they took gold and they made a golden calf. The problem was not the gold. We can fellowship with people and deal with gold and stuff and be acceptance of stuff and learn and tolerate and trade all day. It's when the gold becomes, when we turn that relationship, so to speak, into a golden calf. Then we have two different, we have a Netzer versus Elohim. Whose report are we going to believe, right? If you even want to deal with, more of a Muslim type story, having to deal with, or account of things having to deal with Abraham. Abraham was somebody who, according to that belief system, he literally wiped out a bunch of statues and stuff and idols, because he didn't believe in making sure that he was about these idols, and the people he was around, they were about idol worship. You can deal with a lot of different things. It really goes, but acceptance of culture, yeah, sure. If I meet somebody, matter of fact, I believe that one of the things that allows me to see things more clearly than what maybe some others do is that when I'm talking to somebody, I will respect their culture so much that I won't allow them to disrespect their own. And what I mean by that is, if you say that you're a Buddhist, right, then I'm going to say, okay, well, why is he called the Enlightened One? Right? Like, don't tell me you're a Buddhist, that you believe in Buddha or Shakyamuni Buddha, Buddha rather, probably. Well, I guess Buddha, right? But you believe in Shakyamuni Buddha, and then all of a sudden you say, but I say, okay, well, why is he the Enlightened One? Like, I know your culture, so when you tell me that you're a Buddhist, I'm like, tell me why he's the Enlightened One, right? Like, I want you to, but let's speak culture. Don't disrespect your own culture. If you tell me that Buddha's a god, I say, right, or that term we use, God, but you tell me Buddha is now in another realm, and he's like a demon or a god or whatever you want to call him, in different culture you put him in. Well, then question, Buddha, who's the Enlightened One, out of his culture and out of his life, what did he say, right, about when he left? Like, he said that when he left, right, that he was going to go to another realm and never return. And he said that on his deathbed, he wasn't there to teach people about a godlike figure, so to speak. He said that he was teaching people about how to live their lives. He said he really didn't know about being a god. So somebody else, when they wrote the sutras that you're reading, they had to start introducing him as something that he himself said that he had no interest in. Now, he did say, according to at least some canons, most canons, he did say that he realized who he was in all his lifetime. So certain things that he's saying as far as reincarnation, certain things he said as far as reincarnation, he believes those things to a certain degree, obviously. But for you to think that he's a god, and he himself said he's not a god, and that he doesn't even know anything about God, even though he knows about reincarnation, that's you coming outside of his culture. That means that you're disrespecting his own culture, right? So I think, like, once again, culture is very important, but we should first have honest discussion about culture. Like, if you're Chinese, for example, and you tell me that the Chinese have no interest in your biblical belief, nor have ever had any in it, I have to say time out, because, I don't have it with me, but you guys have seen for a while. I still haven't finished it yet. I started studying. I kind of stopped in the middle of it, but I showed you guys a book that I've been looking for years. And I told you guys, go buy it if you wanted it, where it's a book that literally just talks about, the Chinese culture and how they're writing. If you look at their characters and their writing, that they believed in what Israel believed in, so if you look at like what their word is for family has to be 3 words put together. It has to be 8, the number 8 has to be people, and it has to be boat, right? 8 people, right? 8 people on a boat is what family is, because they believe in the flood. You'll see things like when they talk about direction, or like when they talk about travel, rather, travel is always talking about coming from the west. As characters mean they're coming from the west. Why? Because they're west, or they're east of the Garden of Eden, so they had to come from the west. They still have temples that are up that you can go visit that mirror the temple of Israel, right? The three different spots in the inner court and all that stuff. They still have temples that are there. They worship Shangdi. Shangdi was somebody who was the one true and living Elohim, right? That was their version of Elohim, or that was their word for it. And they believed that he rained down fire from the sky the same way. And they believed in, by name, Noah, Shem, Ham, Japhet, or Japheth. They believed in those names, right? It's not until Buddhism is introduced that all of a sudden they start going away from Shangdi, right? So even the principle, like when people talk about culture, I feel like we should be very accepting of culture, but all cultures, at one point, the further back you go into history, the closer they all come to this one being. And everybody keeps saying this one being is closer we get is the same. Even Baal, at one point in the Bible, if you even read the Bible, Baal is actually something that's okay to call the Most High. It was just another culture's way of saying who Elohim was, right? Matter of fact, when Abraham gives his tithe to Melchizedek, or Melchizedek, depending on how you want to pronounce it, right? When he gives it to Melchizedek, he gives it to somebody who is a worshiper of Baal, right? But Baal back then was just a way of saying Elohim. Baal was Yahweh, right? What we find out, not only historically backed up in the 1900s by a huge historical find where they found hundreds of thousands of things that are documentation of scrolls and different things, and wood carvings that we were able to find, but also you will discover this even in the Bible, that over time people perverted who Baal was. And so now you get the revelation, hey, I don't like the doctrine of Baal because Baal is something different. But back then, Abraham tithed to somebody who was a worshiper of Baal, because Baal and Elohim were talking about the same thing. So back then, so I get what people mean when they say, well, all these people, they're the same ones. Well, no, Baal was understood that if I'm going to worship Baal back then, Baal has to be on point with Elohim, or else he's not worth my worship. So like when you talk about culture, once again, there's a superseding culture of a lot of stuff. You said my mentor advised me when studying African cultures to stay in the cycle. I've heard that term before. I don't really comprehend fully what the term means, but I've heard the term before. But I would say once again, for me, I would just say stay in the culture. It's like when people, like, for example, I'm Shwi, right? So I have a Shwi Bible. We have a Shwi Bible. And when we read it, it'll say On Yom Kippur. Culturally, it doesn't make sense to call Elohim On Yom Kippur. That's what they do in their culture, though, because that's what they say their God is, even though they don't have gods. But, On Yom Kippur is a deity. Now, On Yom Kippur is closer to Anansi. Anansi is a spider, deity. So if I'm going to talk about a spider deity, but then say Elohim is the same as the spider deity, it doesn't make sense, right? But people who speak Shwi, they're having a culture and trying to have a cultural battle, so they're saying we're just going to mix the cultures together. Now, some people would say that's acceptance of the culture or the circle. Okay, so stay in the circle. I've heard somebody say stay in the cycle. I don't know what the cycle thing means, but stay in the circle. Okay, but I would just say be cultural about it, because we do even a mixing of things where, like, everything African or everything East African or North African or whatever we decide, when we even try to say Moorish, we act like all Moors are like the same religion and stuff. So now people, when they say they're Moors, they actually say they're of the same religion. That's not how that works. There were still different cultures, and we should be accepting of all. That's why, like, if somebody says Arabic, they want you to actually deny your culture, because Arabic just simply meant you were nomadic. Well, Israelites were Arabic by definition. So if I'm Israel, I'm Arabic. Matter of fact, I might be more Arabic than some of the people who come from France, who are mixed in with other people who weren't even of Africa, who now live in certain places in North Africa, and try to tell you that they're more African than you or I. Or the people who are in South Africa who would tell you that they're born somewhere and therefore they're more African American than you are because they came from Africa, because they're people who try to take somebody's land and still might have ownership on certain things that they shouldn't have, But that's when you start getting to stuff where you have to be honest about culture. But even within culture, there should be a culture that supersedes all culture. If people say this to me, so I'm just going to use what people tell me, right? If the ultimate culture should be the culture of humanity, then that should supersede the culture of the different things. So even if I'm talking about Shwi culture or Cherokee culture or Taino culture or Haudenosaunee culture, if I'm talking about Lingala culture, if I'm talking about Zulu culture, if I'm talking about Celtic culture, whatever it is, right? Norse theology and culture, whatever it is. Like, I should make sure I keep the culture what it is and discuss it within that culture and see where did it come from within that culture. That helps me to accept it and have a different mindset of it, right? But once I figure out that, then also too, the question is, where did that come from? And where did that come from? Where did that come from, right? Like, to ask questions, to keep asking questions. That's why I love questions. Even if people are a little off-putting on how they get the question, I still love the fact that we can have the question. The question allows us to be able to have the dialogue. The dialogue allows us to be able to represent the culture correctly. And everything's always going to come out of culture, period. If it doesn't come out of culture, then it's not worth discussing, because it means that we can't be honest about it. So to really answer, I feel like I haven't answered the question. To really answer that question, I think we'd have to spend like hours in conversation about that, because obviously you have a knowledge that is very vast, and so we'd have to talk about specific things to figure out what things we're trying to tie together and things. But I would leave it there. That being said, though, being led to go ahead and finish, we appreciate you all for being on with us today. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate the king and queen in each and every one of you, even if you're not living inside that kingdom or queendom yet. We appreciate the potential king and queen in each and every one of you. We give all honor and praise to the Most High. Our prayer is that you not only hear what was said to say, but also doing it. You said not looking for religion only, culture first. Yeah, well, first of all, religion just simply means repetitively what we do as a legion, right? So we're repetitively doing things as a legion. Culture supersedes. Matter of fact, the kingdom of heaven, it's a culture. Kingdom comes from culture, right? If there's no culture, it's not a kingdom by definition. So I'm definitely with you on that. But we thank you, everybody, for being on. We appreciate you. We'll be back on tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. I will do my best to make sure that Facebook will be part of that conversation, possibly Instagram again. We're going to try to make sure that we're opening things back up. Remember, if you want to follow us on TikTok, Kofi_43 is out there. So please support us on that so we can get to 1,000, as soon as possible, and have that up while we're trying to figure out what we're going to do behind the scenes, or whatever the Most High leads us to do. At this point, I'm not trying to do things out of spite. We just want to be led. If you'd like more information on classes, Yah's Land Project, don't forget, sisters, by the way, that we're in the midst of doing our Shabbat Shalom podcast on Podbean, on the Kofi 40 podcast. That's about our sisters right now. I believe that our guests are going to be Minister Anais and Sister Cassandra. This Saturday, talk about being single and what it is as a single sister. Some of the things we talked to a married women's panel. Now we'll be talking about the single women's panel. And we're excited about that. Then after that, I believe it's going to be Minister Tamara. Then I believe after that is going to be, I forget who the two sisters are. It's going to be my wife, of course, with all of this, but my wife leading the panel with talking about a Proverbs 31 woman, and I believe that's going to be Sister Sonia, and I don't know who the other sister is, at least not off the top of my head. So, but we're thankful and grateful for the work of my beautiful bride, who's doing great things. Don't forget also two sisters coming up December 18th. It's going to be Women in Red. So if you want to be able to join up for that, make sure that, as we get closer, that you have the link for that. We're also going to have our first meeting come Saturday, right after the Shabbat Shalom portion of the Kofi 40 podcast at around 11 a.m. We're going to jump right into our Zoom meeting. So we're excited about that, trying to reach out to some people just to put some stuff in your ear. This meeting is going to be just more informational. We will, try to allow for some questions and stuff, but really this is going to be more so for here's where we are. This is what our goals are. This is what we're trying to do in different arenas and different areas. These are the people that we'd like to be able to be in charge of da-da-da-da. Also, too, we're looking at people being in charge of certain things down the road. This is the vision for this, blah, blah, blah. So it's going to be very informational. It's going to be very broad. And some things we'll be able to be specific with. Some things we just won't have time for. And also it is Shabbat, so we don't want to take, I feel like we're taking more and more people's Shabbats away from them when it's supposed to be a time of rest. So we want to make sure we're not doing that as well. We're thankful and grateful to everyone who has been on with us. We appreciate you. Remember, we're on every day, 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern and New York time. We're on every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern and New York time. Our classes right now we're in the midst of marriage, monarchy, sovereignty, natural medicine 1, fibroid cyst, Hebrew characters. Tonight will be Natural Medicine 1. We look forward to having you guys on with us for that. Please, by the way, too, please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure that you take time out to keep praying for each other. We ask that you still lift up our Sister Kelly, and what her and her family are going through. And we'll just leave that at that. Ministers, we thank you so much for you guys getting ready to step up and do some things with us. We appreciate it. Dennis Hobbs said, learning how to use the computer. I find you visually impaired. Oh, cool. Okay. Well, glad to have you on. I used to, when I was homeless and even after I finished being homeless, but especially when I was homeless in DC, we used to do a lot of work over there at MLK Library. And I used to help visually impaired there, learned a lot and from people such as yourself, and not just visually impaired, people that were dealing with handicaps, but also got to mess around with technology and help to test things and see how things actually worked as far as technology was concerned. So learned a lot from being in that situation. So glad that there's technology out there that's working for you, and that there's something about what we're doing that allows you to be, to take this journey with us. So we're grateful for that. So that's all I have for today. If you want to find out more about what we're doing, you can always, look or even, highlight or have it read for you what's in the description box for the videos that we're on, that we have. And, the YouTube channel, hashtag FindKofi, hashtag FindKofi. Please check out what my wife's doing at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can find her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website. Also, to my son, Solomon, has his stuff up on YouTube as well, and on TikTok as well, and on Roblox as well, for people who have young children or grandchildren, or just want to be supportive of a young man doing some great things in the kingdom. He's 777 Solo Face. That's like SOLO and face, Solo Face, or instead of Solomon, 777 Solo Face. That's his name on Roblox, on TikTok, and on YouTube. And he's doing great things in the kingdom on his level to help children to be able to have something great to be able to look at. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much. I believe that's all I have. So until next time I have the chance, the opportunity and the responsibility of being in front of you all, thank you once again. And as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, aka the Shadow Ben One, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we're always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you always. Remember that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Hashtag finish strong. Yep. Hashtag finish strong. This is our year of pursuit. We're pursuing the promises of the Most High. We'll talk to you later. Shalom, everybody. Peace.